Previously on the Fanboys.
We talked about it the last couple weeks. It's been a theme this year that they get up early and then lose the lead.
Yep.
If you look up Stewart Fieldhouse, you'll see it. It was on a list a year or two ago of the top 10 most unique gyms in the country you've never heard of.
LSU is no longer a pretender. They are a contender.
Go Joe! That's great, baby.
We have a new game segment called Good or Not.
Because he put up great stats with crappy players. Yeah, if I said yes, I would basically be saying, oh, Hitler wasn't too bad of a guy either.
See, I know what you're fucking doing, you son of a bitch. I know what you're fucking doing. I know what.
No, I'm going to go with no. He's not a good quarterback.
Jake, how
He's
dare
not
you?
in the NFL.
You racist fuck.
Shut up. Oh, my God.
You are so racist.
So I definitely think a lot of it was UT finally just starting to figure some things out and play better. There's no denying that they were playing at a much higher level.
He's got 3 jobs. Stay ahead of the chains, don't turn the ball over, convert third downs. That is Dak Prescott's job as the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And we are the Fanboys. We are fans talking as fans for the fans, and we have a great show for you today. This week we are talking, of course, SC football. We've got our shout-outs. We've got our college and NFL takeaways. We've got something pretty fun for our first segment. We're not even going to talk about it right now. In fact, we're just going to surprise you. But we are going to talk a little bit of one-win teams that could still be a contender for a Super Bowl or a run to it. And then, of course, we've got our talking points, and we'll end the show with us, as we always do, with our Cowboy maybe not so much of the film breakdown as much as it is just us, Jake and I, just bitching about it because I don't think any Cowboy fans right now are happy about the Cowboys, but we will get to that later. But for now, let's get this thing started. And yeah, Jake, we have a great show in store for us. Jake, you got some shout-outs for us. Go ahead and break those down for us.
Yeah, Hollis Dillon and Aaron Kappelman, they've I know Aaron's been listening in when he can at work down in Southwestern, and then Hollis has been listening in to the show, and we actually had a civil conversation about Dak Prescott and some other things, and that's very rare for us. So
very rare.
Definitely appreciate everyone who's listening in still, and I know a lot of people are the same listeners as who listened to our first episode, but keep interacting with us, keep talking to us, bring up points you want us to talk about. If you want me to study someone certain on film, let me know, but keep up listening and keep interacting with us.
Yeah, Jake, and like you said, just we're averaging out. I'll be honest with everybody. We're averaging out at close to around 50 listeners, 50 viewers every single week. We want that number to grow. We want you guys to spread the word. We need y'all's help to do it. But without further ado, let's get started. Let's talk of some SC football beating Bethany 52-7. Jake, what'd you see?
They found a quarterback. I mean, granted,
yeah.
he is a senior. He's a transfer. He's not as young as I thought he was. But, I mean, for at least this year, you got yourself a quarterback, and then you got to figure something out for next year. But it's nice to see them after, struggling for a couple games, especially the McPherson loss was very disappointing. It's nice to see them come out and blow out a team that they should blow out. I still don't know what this team is going to do moving forward because the McPherson loss was really disappointing. But they at least got back on track. They're 2-2 in the KCAC play, and they're going to have some tough games coming up. I mean, Avila, who was picked near last in the KCAC, is one of their next games. They're receiving votes to be ranked now.
Well, I'm looking at the standings for the KCAC right now. They're number 1 overall in the KCAC, tied technically with Kansas Wesleyan, both undefeated records. But Avila has they're 4-0 in the conference, and Kansas Wesleyan, they had a non-conference game, so they are 3-0.
Yeah, that should be a fun game. Avila apparently has a quarterback who's a transfer from Eastern Carolina, I believe, or East Carolina, the Pirates. So they obviously have a lot of talent.
Yeah, and Jake, I don't want to step on toes here. I'm friends with everybody at Southwestern, but you and I were talking a little bit before the show, and I'm going to have a hot take. And if I hurt someone's feelings, well, I guess I'm not really all that sorry because they probably need to hear it, and no one's going to the next level on this team anyway. And so, but I'd always kind of talked about how how Christian Gordon had gotten. I wish we had Josh Gordon. How Christian Gordon always kind of needed to step up. He needed to be more efficient. He needed to be basically what Early is. In all honesty, and the fact that Gordon, as a freshman or sophomore, he got snaps as a freshman and got the starting job as a sophomore over our previous quarterback, Langston. And Langston had taken the job as a young player, as a junior or sophomore from the guy previous. I don't even remember his name. And the fact that that had been continuing to happen and these guys not finishing out their 4 years as the starters meant that they weren't improving. And I never saw it with Gordon. I never saw the improvement in the passing game. Maybe as a leader, maybe as a great guy on the team, maybe as a runner even he improved, but never did I ever see that much improvement on the passing end of things, and that's kind of a little bit of what the quarterback does. That's kind of his job, is to pass the ball, and he just got stuck. He got stuck. He never elevated his game. He stayed plateaued. And, it wasn't necessarily bad. It just wasn't all that good. And,
wasn't
Christian
efficient
Gordon,
enough.
Right. And I think Gordon has a place on this team. I think he has a place where he can come in and run packages on goal line situations and use his legs. Like you said, kind of they used him as a Tim Tebow.
Well,
yeah.
He's the punter, and they ran a fake punt with him against Bethany, and it worked. So
right.
He definitely still has a place on the team, and to just kind of give him a break as well. I don't think it wasn't because he didn't work hard enough. I just think it's more if he hit that ceiling early on.
Yeah. I don't think I didn't mean if it came off as I was questioning his work ethic. That's not what I meant. I meant as though he's put in the work and he's done everything the right way. He just hasn't improved. And sometimes players, skill-wise, especially at this level, at the NAIA level, they plateau. They hit their peak and they can't improve upon what they already are. And I think that's what we saw with Christian Gordon.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, we're going to have to see where this team goes moving forward. Hopefully the defense can be a little bit more consistent, but at least they got a quarterback now who's being efficient throwing the ball. And then you have a pretty reliable backup in Christian Gordon. And so this team...
An experienced backup.
Exactly. And so this team's coming off a year where they had a winning record in the KCAC. They're 2-2 right now. They're really starting to hit that crossroads point of the season. Where are they going to go?
Yeah, and Jake, just for those who don't know the game or don't know the stats, again, 52-7, Southwestern won. Austin Early, 26 for 37, 456 yards passing. That's nearly more than Dak Prescott has all season. And 6 touchdown passes with 1 interception against Bethany. And, he does a little bit on the ground, too. He had 17 rushing attempts for 96 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. So not only did he lead the team in passing, he led the team in rushing as well. And so this kid is just a dynamic player. And quite frankly, I'm excited to see him play and move on forward to play against the Avilas and to play against the Tabors and the Kansas Wesleyans.
Yeah, it should be fun, and we'll obviously be keeping up with it. And I know I really want to watch that Avila game live all the way through because that's going to be interesting to see how the new team in the KCAC, how they look on the field. Yeah,
and Jake, another stat. I'm just looking at receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 guys with multiple catches, and he had 9 total different receivers catch the ball, and 7 of them had at least 1 or 2 or more catches in the game. So I think that in itself is pretty impressive. You're spreading the ball around. No defense can really focus in on one guy, and that's kind of what Southwestern had been struggling to find, was that one true number 1 receiver. Well, now it seems like with Early at quarterback, you can kind of do that wide receiver by committee.
Yep, and we'll see what happens next week. Getting to 3-2 in conference play would be big. You want to stay above that 500 mark.
Yeah, and seeing Jake, do you just know on the top of your head who they have next week?
I think it's Avila. I can't
They
remember.
have Avila. Avila is next week, Saturday the 29th at 6 p.m. in Winfield, Kansas. So
All right, I got
tune
it.
in. Yeah, tune into that game. They'll have it streaming live on buildersports.com. So go ahead and, at 6 o'clock, tune in with Kurt Caden on the call. And that should be a huge game. If Southwestern can pull away a win on that one in Winfield, that's going to be a big one, and that could really turn the tide of how their season goes from this point on. So we'll keep an eye on that. But Jake, let's move on. College takeaways. I know you're excited. I'll let you go ahead and do your college takeaway of the week.
Yeah, so mine is Texas is going to lose to K-State, but it's not because of their struggles against K-State in the past. It's not because it's at K-State. It's not because I think K-State's a better team. It's because Bill Snyder just questioned the manhood of his entire team. And I don't know if you heard this comment, but after the game, they had like a 4th and about 6 inches, and they did not get the first down. And after the game, Bill Snyder's comment was, I can't coach a team that can't get 6 inches.
Ooh. Ooh.
And so
I don't even know if he meant it to come off that way.
I mean, this podcast has that issue as well, but
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
but he just, I mean,
We're talking about Subway, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, Jared, I mean, that you can't get better than that.
Oh, man, his 6 inches are the best. I would know. I met him when I was 10.
All right. And, but yeah, I mean, there's my reasoning behind why if Texas loses this weekend, it's because I can't imagine the amount of crap all those players are getting on social media and on campus right now. And I mean, if you're a girlfriend, you're just like, oh, I'm going to go to the basketball team because they probably got more than 6 inches over there. I mean,
yeah, you just got to look at the football team compared to the basketball team, and you can kind of tell who's got more than 6 inches on them. My college takeaway, Jake, was this last week. OU had to go into overtime to beat Army. I don't have really anything funny to say about that except for the fact of I'm really glad Texas isn't playing OU this week because they're going to come out pissed off and all cylinders firing. But Army's one of those teams, man, that everyone kind of forgets about them. They're definitely they used to always kind of be the beat up of the military schools, Air Force and Navy. Well, Army's coming along, man, and they're a solid team, and they're obviously more disciplined and all that cliche stuff, but OU definitely struggled, and I think now that there's film, now that there's tape of what OU struggles against or struggled on, and it could have just been more of OU beating themselves than it was Army necessarily, but maybe it's the ground and pound, maybe it's that, let's out physicalize them. If they're going to out athletically beat us, if they're going to have better athletes than us, then maybe it's just going to take us to just beat them up and punch them in the mouth first. And so I think that's what Army did, and it kind of gave OU a little bit of a shock and kind of, they weren't ready to get hit first, and that's exactly what Army did.
Yeah, the only thing about that is no one's going to be able to really replicate what Army did because of the triple option attack.
Yeah, right.
And so, I mean, that's just not something you can be like, oh, we're going to do the triple option this week. It doesn't work that way. And so,
But I don't think it's so much on the offensive side. I think it's more on the defensive side is what I'm talking about, is how can you contain Kyler Murray to 28 points? Because I think if you do that, you can score on him.
Here's how you do it. You control the ball for 45 minutes like Army did.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You can look at it that way, but that you can't. You at the same time you can't, because if you look in the box score and you look at the stats, I mean, 45 minutes to 15 minutes in possession time's crazy. But the one thing I will say is they also didn't look great against Iowa State. So there definitely is some type of formula to at least compete with OU,
Right.
which we did not see those first few weeks. Which I know they weren't playing as good of teams, but still they looked dominant against teams that should be at least respectable. And so it will be interesting to see how OU responds this week. But it should be exciting because if OU and Texas both win this week, this is going to be the biggest red rivalry matchup in probably the last 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, well, if they both come out with a victory, like you said, I would not be surprised whatsoever if we see College Game Day at the first Texas game that they've been to since the Colt McCoy era.
Yeah, and I would be shocked if they weren't, because it's a chance. I mean, it's always fun when game day's been at Texas OU because it's at the state fair. It's one of the biggest rivals and rivalry games in college football. It's Texas's biggest rival. It's OU's biggest rival, and it's always the biggest game of the year for both teams. And if both those teams are coming in, and Texas, their one loss does not matter. Really at all, other than if you look at like playoff implications. But as far as Big 12, it doesn't. So if they beat K-State on the road and they look good on the road, that Texas OU game is going to be gigantic, because it's not like Texas has to beat out OU anymore to get in to the Big 12 championship. You just got to get top 2 now. And so if you can get a win over OU or get a win over West Virginia, you're certainly giving yourself a chance to get into that Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, well, I want to move on to the NFL takeaways, but I just want to end it with this one last kind of tidbit, was that Texas had 3 teams that they had to get over to get to that top 2 team, in my opinion, and that was TCU, West Virginia, OU. They've already done that with TCU in the first week of conference play. So now they have OU and West Virginia. If they can beat one of those 2, they should, forbidding any upsets or any crazy games like K-State gaining their manhood back, would be, Texas should technically be in the Big 12 championship, or would be favored to be in that game if they lose to OU or beat OU or beat West Virginia, one or the other. So anyway, let's move on. Let's go to the NFL takeaway. Jake, what's yours?
The NFL was very drunk this past weekend. Between all the roughing the passer calls, all the crazy upsets. I mean,
wild.
The Bills just destroying the Vikings in Minnesota. The Patriots look slow and bad, and they got whipped by the Lions, and their only win is a close game at home against a bad Texans team. There was probably about 3 or 4 other. The NFL was drunk this week, and the Rams are also the Golden State Warriors because they just look unbeatable right now.
The Rams are the best team in the league right now, and they're down. Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters are both hurt, and that's their 2 best cornerbacks on their defense. That's their number 1 and 2 corners in their secondary, and they are still beating teams like it's nothing.
Yeah, to me, they just look like a better version of the Chiefs, because their offense is just as good and their defense is better than the Chiefs, and so,
like way better. It's not even the Chiefs' defense is close to the bottom of the league. If they had an average defense, if they had a middle of the road defense, the Chiefs could compete with the Rams. But right now, it is Rams by a lot.
Spin zone. The Chiefs' defense is one of the best on third downs. Granted, they hardly ever get to third down, but when they do, it's kind of like that thinking meme, kind of a verbal meme here, where the guy's pointing at his head thinking, and it's like, can't be bad on third downs if you don't get to them.
Right. If you never have a third down, you can't be bad on third down. Yeah. And but anyway, Jake, that's kind of the same as my takeaway would be. It's upset week in the NFL. Like you said, the Detroit New England game was already like, that kind of just tipped over the glass, but it all started with the Vikings and the Bills. It started with even Washington beating Green Bay. That, to me, is a big upset. I don't know about anybody else, but that one was pretty under the radar considering all the other games that had happened.
Yeah, that was a shocker. I'm just, Packer fans should be happy Aaron Rodgers was able to survive having to play on that field, so that's important.
Oh God, I know that. God, those fields are so bad. It's fucking Washington. Tampa Bay had an ugly field on Monday night. Pittsburgh's isn't any better anyway. And then Philly's field is terrible at Lincoln Field. There was another one that was just terrible. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, those fields are bad. Like, and also, I heard that they have high school at Washington anyway. They've got high school and college games being played Friday and Saturday night, and then it's all torn up by Sunday. And it's like, you're the NFL. You can't. hell, if I'm the Redskins, I have that much money, I'm building a little side stadium right next to us, and so the high school and the college can go play over there. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, I don't understand it. Their field is, I mean, we saw it in the Texas-Maryland game when they came out of the rain delay.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even keep your footing. It is ridiculous. The NFL should literally require them to either change out their field or build a new stadium. It's not like you have to build a new stadium to fix your field. All you got to do is get better turf.
Yeah. So, Jake, there's a lot of one-win teams now with all the upsets. The Patriots, the Vikings, the Chargers, Atlanta. There's a lot of teams that were preseason predictions to be fairly high, and then there's also some weird ones. You got Miami being 3-0. You've got the Giants being Seattle being 1-2. Although I kind of predicted that. That's not all that weird to me. The Chiefs being 3-0 might be a surprise to some people. Tampa Bay being 2-1. So Jake, let's go through all the one-win teams. Who do you predict is still a contender? They're not even close to the panic button. Just some unfortunate weeks, to start the season off for them. Who is your one-win contender right now, and going into week 4?
Well, I got my number 1, and then I went ahead and did 3 honorable mentions. And so my number 1 is Minnesota. They're just too talented to give up on them. I just think they had a game where they just didn't show up. I mean, the tie against Green Bay is not concerning. I mean, it's a tie against a good Green Bay team who they struggled with in the past, and I think it was in Lambeau, so nothing to worry about on the tie. But obviously, when you get killed at home and you're one of the biggest favorites in the last 20 plus years by the Bills, that is concerning. But at the same time, I just think it's one of those games where everything went wrong and they just lost confidence in the game. And I just think they thought they were going to go out there and stomp the Bills without having to do anything. My honorable mentions and
let me go with
I'll
mine.
Let you go
so
with your one, okay?
Yeah, well, I just don't want you to pick my one with your honorable mentions or whatever. So,
okay.
Honestly, because I had Minnesota as my I think it's kind of obvious that Minnesota is the best one-win team right now. And Jake, I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I think the Chargers. I had them as kind of a backup. It was between them and Atlanta because Atlanta doesn't have their running back. I really do think Devontae Freeman's a big part of that team. I think he can control the time. You don't have to pass every down, and it takes snaps away from the defense if he's running the ball well, and so it slows the game down for him. It kind of lengthens out. Each quarter or shortens it, I guess you could say. And you can take the time off. So I think Freeman being out, because I like the guy, is hurting the Falcons more so than people are talking about. But I'm going to go, just because it's the AFC and the Chargers have had a tough schedule up to this point, I'm going to go with the Chargers. They're still, to me, I'm not hitting the panic button. They still have all the pieces in place that they need to have. Bosa is going to return from injury. It's not a season ender. They still have Melvin Gordon. He's back there. He's doing fine. He's hurt, but he's a little nicked up. I don't know if he's hurt or whatever the situation is with him. I'm not in depth with the Chargers, but I know they're dealing with a little bit of injuries. They can come back. They played the Rams, dude. So I mean, they're a one-win team, but they still look good. They're still playing well. They're playing well enough to hang with the Rams and stuff like that. And they're in the AFC, which is what you and I would both agree is definitely the weaker conference of the two. They're the East of the NFL,
and their two losses are the Chiefs and the Rams.
The Chiefs and the Rams,
in the NFL.
Literally the two best teams in the NFL, and the Chiefs are in their division. So I'm not panicking if I'm the Chargers. I'm just saying, wow, we didn't see that coming from the Chiefs, and we got really unlucky with the Rams. So they play the Niners this upcoming week, and the Niners don't have Jimmy G string anymore. So I not pulling the plug on the Chargers. So Jake, go ahead with your honorable mentions.
They were one of my honorable mentions. I actually left Atlanta off of mine because I just feel like they're one of those teams that they're just not, the offense and the defense are not complementing each other. When one plays well, the other doesn't. But I have the Steelers on there just because somebody has to win that division. And I just, sooner or later, I feel that defense is going to be better than they are right now. Sooner or later, I feel like that has to happen because their defense has some talent on it, but they've just been really bad through the first few weeks. And my last one, the Cleveland Browns, baby. I'm going for – and I do have some reason behind it. I mean, their defense has been legit. You cannot deny their defense has been legit.
No, they could easily be 3-0 right now had they started a certain quarterback.
Yeah, and Baker Mayfield, and he's going to struggle some throughout the season because he's a rookie, but Baker Mayfield is good enough, and he's going to be a solid NFL quarterback just in his rookie year alone, where he doesn't have to do that much. Their offense doesn't have to score 40 points a game to win. I think he is good enough, and that offense will be good enough with him at the helm for them to actually be a legitimate contender in that division, because that division is not very strong, and I think Cleveland is very strong on defense, and I think they're going to be good enough on offense now with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, just so you know, Jake, it's not overreaction week, which is exactly what you're doing with Cleveland. I just think, just wait till teams have some film on the guy and they can study him.
Every week's overreaction week.
I realize that, especially with you. But I think Cleveland people, like I said it before you started talking. They could easily be 3-0 right now. They really could. They could be 3-0. I'm not taking that away from them. I just don't. I'm just waiting because you said something very similar, not except for the team part, but player-wise as Darnold. And Darnold has progressively gotten worse each week as the season has gone on. And little did we know that Detroit was going to have, although the Detroit Lions do have the number one passing defense, and he played pretty well in that game. So I don't know. Darnold has consistently struggled, and I'm expecting not the same. It's not that Darnold's playing bad. It's just, a decline. And I think teams are going to kind of start watching film. They're going to start knowing how to defend Baker Mayfield a little bit better. My honorable mentions, Jake, I'm going to go with Green Bay. I still think Green Bay, as long as you have Aaron Rodgers on the field and they're getting their starting running back from suspension, you're fine. Do not panic, although they are in a much tougher division now that the Bears are back. I think the Bears, except for their offense, but that defense is also very legit, Jake. And then I had also mentioned it earlier, Atlanta, they're my other honorable mention. We both left off New England because we think it's so obvious. It's such an obvious pick that neither one of us wanted to pick New England. Yes, obviously New England is a contender still. We're not saying that they're not just because we didn't pick them. We know, so we don't want to hear your little bitching and moaning, all you little fucking Patriot fans out there. I really hope we don't even have Patriot fan listeners, but if we do, yes, we know they're contenders, okay? Just back off.
Yeah, and one counterpoint to you, Darnold is like 19 or something ridiculous. Mayfield's had a little bit more experience, a little bit more. He played a lot more games in college, so I do think he's had a lot more football experience than Darnold, and that will help him out through the season.
Yeah, you're probably right, but he also played that well, which is important with the energy that he provided to that stadium. We're going to get into that a little bit later. I don't want to go
get off
wanted
track
to be able
here,
to get
my counterpoint in real quick.
Yeah. All right, Jake. Well, that's going to do it for our one-win team contenders. Let's move on. We have kind of a fun little segment here. It's just a little something. I don't know how fast or how long this is going to go. It's probably not going to take too long. I wouldn't think so. But, Jake, let's predict who in the NFL is most likely to have a sex change at some point in their life. Let's go into that, and I'm going to let you have first pick. I will have second pick, and we'll alternate. We each have 3 picks. I don't know how long this is going to go. I have no idea how this conversation is going to end up, but let's just dive balls deep into it. Let's do this thing. Go ahead, Jake.
All right, well, I'm glad you gave me first pick because I think this would be both of our first picks, Odell Beckham Jr.
Damn it. I got to think of something else now.
It has to be.
Yeah. He's probably the consensus number one.
He might already have had a sex change, and we just don't know it. and maybe he's just, gender neutral or whatever the crap people call it.
He's like a Ken Barbie doll.
Because, he did, marry a kicking net. So I don't know if that's legally binding, but he will definitely sex change to something, whether it be a kicking net, a woman, a
A man?
Yeah, man. I mean, he's not a man right now.
No.
He's a diva, so that's the one thing
Oh,
he
my
can't
gosh.
sex change to. So,
Yeah.
but that is he could sex change the cocaine. I'm sure you can. I'm
But
sure you
dude,
can
it, like-
identify as cocaine as well.
Have you seen those fucking videos he posts on Instagram? Like, I
No.
mean, for the love of God.
I stay off of Instagram because of all that crap.
I mean,
This is a very
dude,
politically correct segment, by the way.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, we're all for,
Oh, yeah,
getting your
PC
dick
bros.
chopped off.
PC
Yeah, PC,
bros.
bro. Hey, man,
You
don't.
can identify as whatever you want, man. Even if it's when I signed up our podcast email, I identified us as football guys, and when I did
guys.
when I did my own Gmail, I identified as a dolphin.
Nice. Hey, man, they're 3-0, so you're winning. All right, my first pick. I think this is a pretty easy one as well. Todd Gurley. And that's simply just because the name. I think Todd Gurley would have a sex change because his name would then match his body. I mean, it would fit perfectly. Todd Gurley. I mean, it doesn't get girlier than Todd Gurley. It really doesn't. And yes, he is by far the best weapon offensively, I think, in the NFL right now. But yeah, I could see him, being. Let's see. What is a girl name for Todd?
Girly.
What'd you say?
I said girly.
Girly. I'm talking. Whatever, dude.
Girly.
Girly. But yeah,
Oh,
so
is that
Todd
like dilly.
Dilly. But yeah, Todd Gurley. That's my first pick.
That very punny. My next.
I'm glad you didn't take that one because I was really excited
I didn't think
about
about that one. I could tell you were excited. RG3 would be my next one. Another just kind of self-explanatory one. He's already, growing out the hair to do so. Greta, the person he's married to.
Greta.
Greta. I think she's the perfect kind of person that would just support him through that. And, I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, Bruce Jenner became a woman. Who would have thought that was going to happen? So you know what, RG3, and that'll be interesting to see what Baylor does with his statue whenever he does, sex change to something.
Yeah, and so Jake, I'm gonna go ahead and take over with this isn't a player, but it was who in the NFL would get a sex change, and it's not a player. I'm gonna go with the head man himself, Roger Goodell. I think he's already a pussy because he's changing so many rules to where that everybody wants to play, wrap up or flag or whatever, and he's just a big giant wet pussy anyway. So yeah, I think he might as well grab the rule book and all the NFL rules, which is meant for pussies, and just place it over his cock. And then I think he has a dick.
Wow,
He doesn't have a cock.
This is getting very descriptive.
And then he will then just be the NFL rule book, which is made out of a pussy. So I say Roger Goodell.
All right, that got a little too descriptive for my liking.
Hey, just close your eyes and imagine Roger Goodell with a nice, succulent clit.
Jesus. All right, next one. We're gonna get kicked off the airwaves. I did think about some current players, like Rex Ryan was one I thought about. I did a lot of thinking, but I had to go with the only man I have ever seen wear Uggs other than probably Caitlyn Jenner. And yes, I just called Caitlyn Jenner man. Tom Brady, TB12.
Yeah.
And the person he would get married to would be Alex Guerrero. I mean, that just because it is a disturbing little relationship between him and his trainer. And I could definitely see that in the works he has for as soon as he retires to sex change, leave his supermodel wife, and then become and don't forget, he also kissed his son for kind of a long amount. I mean, there's a lot of connecting the dots here. He kissed his son for a long time. He has a weird relationship with his trainer.
Was there a
worn
line of
Uggs.
spit that was connected to lip? Was there, like, whenever he released, was there just one line of glistening spit?
I did not analyze the tape. I would have to go back to the film room. and really check that out.
The challenge flag.
Yeah, but I just started connecting the dots with Tom Brady, and I was like, pretty sure Tom Brady could become a woman. And I don't know what her name would be, but I definitely could see it.
Well, you took my number one pick, Jake, and it's an obvious pick. I mean, we both had him on our list, so and I've got a couple good ones. I just don't know which one I want to say. I guess we'll have some honorable mentions though, but I'm just gonna go say it. I want to say Zeke Elliott because Zeke Elliott wears crop tops, so he likes to show off the belly. He's growing his hair out. And so, he's already got the wonderful, mini afro thing that girls have. And, I can be okay with that. He's got it growing the hair out. He's also got a nose ring, which that really bothers me. It's like a little stud. It's not like a loop or something. I don't know if the loop would be any better. I don't know, but he's got a little nose ring. It's very feminine. He does have a very, very close relationship with Dak Prescott. And so I'm going to go with Zeke Elliott as my last pick for who would have a sex change in the NFL.
All right. I didn't really know about the nose ring. So
yeah, if you watch his interviews,
No, I don't want to now.
Yeah, it's kind of disturbing. It's just like a little shiny little stud. My honorable mention, Jake, was Cam Newton. Definitely with all his fashion, gay, oops, sorry. I don't want to go non-PC here.
We stay PC on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say gay. I meant to say
you meant happy.
Pro-choice happiness. What is that's abortion. Anyway, we're getting off the track here. Okay. But yeah, Cam Newton for obvious reasons with his whole fashion
We're gonna go down to
stuff.
like 2 listeners after this one.
Oh yeah, we're losing a lot of people on this one.
All right, yeah. I mean, Cam Newton would have been my
you have
number
an
one honorable mention.
Okay.
I said Rex Ryan, so we can go ahead and move on if you want.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Before we derail the entire show.
Yeah, before we really get off track, well, let's go from NFL back to college. We've kind of alternated. Let's keep it that way. Let's go Longhorns. Let's get right onto it because I'm really excited to talk about them. I know we might have some hot takes here. I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold on Texas is back yet, though. I don't know. I have to see them win. And it was two big games, and I'm not saying TCU was a slouch because they pretty much the second half of the last 2 games have dominated. 0 points allowed in both of the second halves in the previous 2 games, but Longhorns win 3 straight, 2 at home against ranked teams back to back. Now they're this is what pisses me off. They're number 18 in the nation. They don't deserve it. I think they should be ranked. They should be ranked, but I would give them maybe 22, 24. I'd give them right at the borderline of being ranked. But it is what it is.
If you look at the ranked teams around them, I mean,
they're where they're at.
They're this year in college football. It's not been a very deep field, if you will. And so, for the first time in a long time, we can say Texas at least deserves to be ranked. I'm kind of on the boat of Texas is kind of back. Sam Ehlinger.
They're very close. And to me, Texas is back doesn't depend on the OU game. I think a lot of people are waiting for that to say it officially, but it's the K-State games. It's the games K-State. It's the Iowa States. It's it's those games. That means Texas is back. It's not losing a game that you're not favored in. It's winning the games you are favored in.
Yeah, exactly. And I do like this Texas team. I do think they're good. I don't think TCU lit up Ohio State's defense. If it wasn't for a couple mistakes on their part, they probably would have won that game, to be honest. And so, that was a legitimate win at home where they really took it to TCU, especially in that second half. And TCU is not a team they've been able to beat. And one little stat I wanted to bring up is Sam Ehlinger, and he's now started 10 games. In those 10 starts, he has thrown for over 200 yards in every game. Colt McCoy and Vince Young did not do that.
Wow.
And so a lot of people have been questioning Ehlinger, which I never have been, other than the fact that he did make some bad turnovers. But he's only a sophomore.
The decision making, right. It's more so the decision making,
and he hasn't had a turnover, since Maryland. And yes, I'm jinxing it. he's going to turn over the ball again this year, and that's just going to happen. But I think he's proven that he is going to be the quarterback moving forward, and I don't think that's going to change. And
he should be.
He has improved every single game, and he put on a lot of muscle between freshman and sophomore year. I think Texas has found their quarterback. The only thing about Texas where I think it's going to hurt them in some games this year still is their offensive line is still kind of reeling, but they get Zach Shackelford back at center this week. That should help a lot, and they got some guys who are starting to get healthy, and so I think Texas is finally back to a point where we can at least feel confident that they're going to show up week to week.
Yes, and I think that is a big part of,
huge step.
You're also excited for next week. There have been very many times in the last 5 years where I go week to week and I'm not excited about the game. I'm not excited about 2 weeks from now going to OU. I'm not excited about that. That was 3 seasons, 2 seasons, even maybe a little bit of last season, a little bit. This season, after the TCU game, actually really after the USC game, I was pumped to play TCU. I was so ready. I was like, all right, we played really good in that second half. Maybe it can carry over. And then in the first half, maybe it didn't carry over all the way. And then after halftime, it was there. It's like they're there, And so then
the first half was close. I mean, it's not like TCU.
Right? No. Yeah,
I would
but
say
it just
did
wasn't
carry over. I mean, they weren't dominating, but they were playing good.
right. But then they dominated that second half.
Yeah.
They've dominated second halves, and that is what's fun to watch, is putting these teams away, putting them just completely shutting them out. And what I like to see is, the Dallas Cowboys may not get Earl Thomas, but they could definitely get Stearns, a freshman. They could wait 2 more years and get this kid at safety, Stearns. This kid is legit. He might be the next Earl Thomas in the NFL. This kid is crazy good. Every single game he is doing something, making a play, making an open field tackle, even if it's a pass deflection, and it's keeping the ball away from receivers. It's something. Special teams. The kid is incredible at all aspects of his game. He's already one of the best defenders on the field right now for the Longhorns, with a top-ranked defense in the nation.
Yeah, and Tom Herman has shut people up, and then Gary Johnson is another guy at linebacker.
Yes.
Absolute monster.
And then the defensive lineman, I can't say his name. Maybe you know what it is.
No, I'm not even gonna try. But
he's had a hell of a season.
Yeah, it's like you said. We can be excited for next week, and hopefully we're still excited after next week and have something to look forward to. That it's been a game we haven't been able to be actually excited about for any Big 12 implications in about a decade, probably. So hopefully this Texas OU game is big, because that game needs to be big.
And it seems as though every, even with Case McCoy, not Colt McCoy, but with Case McCoy and a little bit afterwards, was we would win the first 3 games of the season, Jake, and then we would lose like the week before OU. Or we would lose like 2 games before we got to OU, and it was like, well, shit, this doesn't really matter. Like it's cool if we win. Like I hope we do. I hope we beat OU. But like you said, it had no implications really on the big picture of winning the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, this is a Texas team who has a chance to get into the top 2. They have a chance. They are not eliminated. And, I still think it's going to be a struggle to get over West Virginia and OU, because I think they're both very
It's going to be a struggle
teams.
to get over K-State.
Yeah, but, this is a team who has the ability, and we'll see where we're at after next Saturday.
Yeah, and Jake, speaking of good games, of exciting games, we finally have a good lineup. It took till week 4, week 5, until we had a good lineup. It usually is this time of the year. It's usually the end of September, beginning of October. I said it in our first episode that college football is now, to me, officially back. You're in conference play. You're getting ranked teams on a weekly basis playing against each other. We've got some big ones, and I'm excited just to sit on my ass and do nothing but watch college football.
Yeah, Texas Tech, who's just coming off a big win at Oklahoma State, they get West Virginia at home. That's going to be one to keep your eye on.
As much as
I'm not a believer in Tech, they do typically start out seasons well. And, I mean, their defense actually showed up against Oklahoma State. I still think West Virginia wins, but that's, one of those games that's not even one of the top games, but still should be exciting.
Yeah, and I think another game, Jake, is Ohio State at Penn State. Penn State has played terrible in first halves, but second halves, they might be one of the better teams in the country in the second half, or at least the fourth quarter of games. Yeah. And they're playing at Happy Valley, and that's never an easy place to play. It's where game day is going to be. It's primetime television. It's a rivalry game. You can't just chalk up an Ohio State victory here.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think Ohio State's going to win because I think Ohio State's the better team. But if Penn State actually finally shows their potential, then, maybe they can come out and this will be the turning point in their season. But, kind of to keep rolling it down the line, Stanford, Notre Dame, number 7 against number 8.
Big one.
Stanford, having the miraculous comeback against Oregon. And, that game's in Notre Dame. That's going to be a fun environment. I mean, this week is just jam-packed of awesome football.
Yeah, SEC, not as many games, but the SEC also has so many big name programs that you're going to get, a South Carolina playing, a whatever. I mean, you're going to get a decent matchup, and you could possibly have an upset there in the SEC. I'm not looking at the SEC schedule right now. I don't keep up with it all that much, nor do I care about it, but it's, whatever.
Really, the best game would be South Carolina against Kentucky, who's number 17, 4-0.
Wow.
They're off to one of their best starts. They beat Florida, and then last week they had another upset. I can't remember who, but then, BYU Washington, number 20 and 11, and then Cal Oregon, 24 against 19. I mean, this week is just jam-packed with fun games.
No, and it really is. And Jake, honestly, for A&M fans listening out there, Arkansas is having a bad year. Yes, they're not playing great, and they're not a great program. And A&M's probably going to kick their ass, probably by 3 touchdowns, I would guess. But the Texas A&M Arkansas game is always a rivalry game between those two programs, and it's always at AT&T Jerry World. And so it's a neutral site, so no one really has home field advantage there. And so it's one of those games where it could really go either way. If Texas A&M kind of lets up and has a letdown, that might be a sneaky game. I'm predicting a three score game by Texas A&M, 3-possession lead and win for the Aggies. I'm not saying it's going to be close, but I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas gives them a fight.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a game, through a half or something. But
yeah,
Arkansas got spanked at home by North Texas.
It's bad. It's bad in Arkansas.
I'm pretty sure they lost to Colorado State too. They've been terrible. But I mean, keep moving forward.
No, yeah. So speaking of good college games, good college teams, Clemson. Big news going out of there. Kelly Bryant is transferring with the news that he heard that Lawrence is going to be the starting quarterback. And Kelly Bryant, a senior, going to transfer and I guess redshirt the rest of this year and then come back the next season and play maybe, a season or 2? Does he have to skip the next season?
I think with the new rules, no.
No, okay, because I knew he used to have to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure with the new rules, no, so he'll be playing next year.
Okay, okay.
But I think Clemson made the right choice. I mean, they went with the better quarterback. It wasn't the sentimental choice, but no. I think skill-wise...
It wasn't the loyal choice.
Skill-wise, they made the right choice. Giving them a chance to do something this year, they made the right choice.
Yeah, well, it's not only this year, Jake. It's next year and the year after that. And what Lawrence's, ceiling is far higher than what Kelly Bryant's ceiling is.
Yeah, I mean, people will bring up Kelly Bryant's record of 16-2, but I don't think many people will argue.
Clemson.
Their defense is a powerhouse. They have a bunch of people around them, and
I could get 6 wins at Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, he's just never been, I mean, he's not bad by any means, but he's just not dynamic. Lawrence, he has a chance to be a first overall pick of the draft. A very good chance of that, I would say, with his size and his attributes. And so, I think Dabo Swinney made the right choice.
So who would be a good fit for Bryant to go to in your eyes? Where do you see him spending his last senior season at?
I think he would do well at UCLA with Chip Kelly.
Chip
Kelly's really missing out on having a quarterback right now because he's had to have, Spate starting. UCLA struggling a lot. I still stand by that they're going to be good, in the next couple years because I think Chip Kelly's a good college football coach. I think Kelly Bryant would fit his scheme well, and I think that's one place that not too many people will talk about, but I think his skill set and then Chip Kelly's system could be a really good match.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe so much not the system for me, but a team that is always just seems to be a quarterback away is Michigan. And we've seen that Harbaugh's a quarterback guru. If he could do it with Kaepernick, why not do it with Bryant for a season, And so, I think Michigan would be an interesting fit for him. I could see him also possibly staying in the ACC with it being as weak as it is going to Miami, but they have a new freshman guy who played pretty well. They gave him a shot, and he played decent. But I could see, maybe staying in the ACC. Yes, you'd have to play Clemson, but there's nobody else there that would really give you a hard time. So I can maybe see Miami as a possibility. But I was really intrigued with the possibility of maybe just a quarterback away with Michigan.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. Actually, I think both of ours would be really good, possible landing spots for him.
Well, anyway, Jake, going from a possible first-round pick in Lawrence to an actual first-round pick, first pick overall in the draft, we're going to move to the NFL, and we're going to talk some Baker Maker. We're going to talk about some Baker Mayfield football on Thursday night with the Cleveland Browns, dude. That was electric. When he stepped into the field, when he just walked onto the field, Cleveland won the game. Cleveland had won because of what the dog pound and what he did for the Cleveland fans. Wow. I've never seen a player just completely mesmerize an entire stadium and then just automatically win the game. They were down by 3 scores and they had already won at the end of the first half.
And make no mistakes about it. I mean, he came off a week where he got no first-team reps. He came into a week where he's playing against a fairly good Jets defense that killed Matt Stafford. They lost that Miami game, but it wasn't because of their defense. Their defense has been the stronger part of their team. And, kind of on top of that, Tyrod Taylor was, played essentially the entire first half. He was like 2 of 14 with like 6 yards.
Awful.
Awful. Baker Mayfield comes in and the ball's just getting zipped upfield within. Yeah. Not only is it getting zipped upfield, but it's not like he had all day to throw. He ran through his progressions faster than some veteran quarterbacks do. And that's the thing that Baker Mayfield impressed me in college too. He knows how to get rid of the ball quick and get through his progressions. He's extremely smart, and that's why I don't think that game is going to be fool's gold. I think he is going to be a legitimate quarterback, and I think the Browns made the right selection. And I think this quarterback class is going to be very good, but I think Baker Mayfield's still the best quarterback.
Now, I know nobody's going to believe me whenever I say this, and that's fine. You don't have to. We know the truth. Jake, what did you and I talk about? We go on an annual camping trip. What did you and I talk about on that camping trip right before the draft had happened when people were talking about Rosen, Darnold, Mayfield, and Josh Allen of who's going to be the top pick,
Lamar
who should
Jackson.
the Browns take, and Lamar Jackson. Out of those 5 guys who were first-round picks in the draft, Jake, who did we both agree on that we both said is the best pro-ready guy right now that the Browns should take?
Baker Mayfield. And
with the number and we were right. I mean, I know no one's going to believe that, but we were right. I mean, he's the best quarterback in that draft class, and I think he's going to be the best quarterback over Darnold. I think he's going to be the best quarterback in that draft for a career.
His arm is, it's not. The thing about that game is you can say, well, defenses didn't have film on him or whatever you want, but you can't deny the arm talent, the ability to go through his progressions, and the ability to be dynamic in the pocket. I mean, what does he not have? The only thing people were saying in the draft was he's not mature, or like the idiot that was on Colin Cowherd's show who was like, I don't like how Mayfield had his phone out whenever he was coming onto the NFL Network. Like the ridiculous.
Yeah.
People
I
who
don't
just
give a
wanna hate to
shit.
hate.
You know, whatever, dude. He's a freaking millennial. Let him be a millennial. Let him win his first game without criticizing the guy. You know, I mean, he's had enough criticism already. Who gives a shit about him being on his phone? I don't care anymore about that, you know? He was still at the press conference. He still did a great job in the game. He did a great job post-game. He didn't do anything stupid on the post-game show, or he didn't say anything that was going to make him look like an idiot. He asked about beer twice. Give the guy a beer. Unlock the coolers. Dilly, motherfucker. And let's fucking play some football. I just get so tired of these people, like, having to nitpick every single thing someone does. Dude, the guy just won a game in Cleveland.
And he's a team player. I mean, he was.
Can we celebrate a win in Cleveland, please? Can we just celebrate a win in Cleveland? That was the most exciting. You and I talked about it. The most exciting Thursday night football game that has ever been played.
Yeah, and I mean, all of his teammates have always loved him. His coaches have loved him. I mean, people who are trying to get mad at him about the police video or thing, he hasn't had any other mistakes. He doesn't seem to be a bad person or, you know, someone who's not genuine. There's just people who want to hate, and we're UT fans, and yet I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. I wish he would have gone to UT.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Baker Mayfield.
If he was a Baker Mayfield fan, I'd be like OU fans, and I'd be like the South Park meme with cum all over my body. I mean, that's just what I would look like. That's what OU fans look like, and I don't blame them. I mean, he's a competitive, likable guy. He's a team guy. He'll do any. He's the only quarterback to ever come out and actually say, "I want the Cleveland Browns to pick me. I want to be a Cleveland Brown. I want to turn that franchise around," and I think he's going to do it. And I hope I'm right about this. God, if they go through another fall of a quarterback with potential and that he's another bust, I think Cleveland Brown fans will actually. I think the team will cease to exist. I think the franchise will pack it up. But Jake, let's continue to move on just a little bit. We talked about Baker Mayfield. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say. But let's stick on the quarterback position. A big news going on in the NFL: roughing the passer.
Yeah, so one little note. When was this rule created, Tanner? A little trivia for you.
This rule, that I don't know when it was created, but I know when Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone, that's what caused it.
It was created in 1995, and the NFL has not enforced it since then. And this is just a showing of how stupid the NFL is. How do you have rules in your rule book that you aren't enforcing, and then all of a sudden you enforce it and it changes the entire game? And they're going to have to change this because even quarterbacks are coming out and saying this is ridiculous. And the most
Aaron Rodgers said he didn't like it.
The most ridiculous one of all was when Alex Smith, I think it was Alex Smith, gets sacked. Yeah, it was, but the Clay Matthews, and he had the ball. He got sacked, and it was roughing the passer. I mean, defies all logic.
That's what's happening. Well, that's what happened with Clay Matthews against the Vikings with Kirk Cousins. It was the same. No, it was an actual sack. It wasn't after the pass. It was a sack. A legitimately just quarterback had the ball in his hands. And another thing that I want to talk about, Jake, is how stupid this rule is. What happens when a running back has a ball in his hand and a defensive lineman just lays him out and he puts his body weight on the running back? Does it not hurt the running back just as much as it hurts the quarterback? Or is that not the same guy who just sacked the quarterback and got a roughing the passer penalty that is tackling a running back? Does it not feel the exact same for that guy? Does he not have the same probability of breaking a collarbone with that same form tackle? Like, if you're going to make it for a quarterback, make that rule for everybody and just ruin football, because that's what you're doing. And you know, yeah, my point might be a little out there, but it's basically the same principle. It's like the same thing I said with helmet to helmet. I would if I was a referee, just to be a smartass, I would throw a flag on every single play and call helmet to helmet on the offense and defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really stupid because that was a perfect form how you're taught to tackle by Clay Matthews. And, I mean, I hate the rule. Everyone hates the rule. They're going to have to change it. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Yeah, also, just to kind of rewind a little bit, Clay Matthews would also be on my honorable mention for sex change.
Here,
Just
he hadn't already. Whoops.
sorry,
my
just
bad.
pure hair wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Head and
but anyway, so yeah, let's. And speaking of the roughing the passer rule, our Cowboys were victims of it with Tyron Crawford, and I know we're going to go through this game. We're going to try to go through it as quickly as possible. We're already at an hour in, so let's try just a little bit quicker on the Cowboys segment. It's not like we have anything good to say about them anyway, but we both have a rant we want to do, and then we'll probably wrap it up. So Jake, I'll go with your rant first. I know you've been waiting for this moment for a long time now.
Yeah, so normally, I talk about the film, and I'm going to talk about just two players real quick, and then I'm going to start the real meat of this segment, which is me being really pissed off. So first off, Leighton Vander Esch and Connor Williams, congratulations. Y'all were the two guys who really stood out in film to me. Leighton Vander Esch was an absolute monster in this
Led the
Seattle
team in
game.
tackles.
I mean, Sean Lee's probably going to be out for a couple weeks. And I don't think they're worried about it because Leighton Vander Esch stepped up. And then Connor Williams, I thought he had a really solid – I mean, when your three worst linemen on the field are Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, and Joe Looney, which the Joe Looney thing is not a big deal, but Zach Martin, especially Zach Martin, he played terrible in that game. He had an awful game, and that is very unlike – Zach Martin, who has never really had a bad game, and that was the worst game of his career. Connor Williams and La'el Collins were by far the best linemen in that game. And then
sorry, I didn't know if you were going to keep going or not. I didn't.
So I'll go right into my rant. So first off, this is the most depressed I've ever been as a Cowboys fan. Not because this team lacks talent, but because I want them to lose. And I want them to lose because they need new coaches. And, Mike Lombardi said it on Pardon My Take. He said, do you really think as Sean McVay came in, he couldn't be scoring 25 to 30 points a game with this offense and have Dak be looking like a, good quarterback? Because to me, Dak's ceiling is being a good quarterback in this league. Not great, but good. He should be a good quarterback in this league. And even
would you say it's the same ceiling as Jared Goff?
I would say it's a little bit lower.
Okay,
I think Jared Goff's
which is basically my point.
And
which is basically my point, though, with the Sean McVay comparison.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but the thing is, Dak Prescott is going to look like a bottom-tier quarterback as long as Scott Linehan is his coordinator because it is setting him up for failure, and it is complete idiocracy by this fucking coaching staff to not call a single read fucking pass option until the fourth fucking quarter of the football game when you have Dak fucking Prescott as your quarterback. What the hell are you doing? They don't call a read option. They don't run him. They don't roll him out. They don't do shit on offense until the fourth quarter. It's like they watched the film from the first two fucking games and were just like, okay, these plays worked. Let's throw these in the fucking dumpster and light them on fire. The Cowboys are worse than the Cleveland Browns, and it's not because of talent. It's because their coaching staff fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And not only that, but no one talks about it. They, for some reason, fired their offensive line coach, who's now at Cincinnati, and they're talking about how good Cincinnati's line has changed this year with their changing and their techniques. And now our offensive line looks like fucking dog shit. So we keep Scott Linehan, we get rid of a good assistant, and now we literally look like retarded on offense. I mean,
went with the R word.
This
Whoa.
offense, fuck you. This offense should not look this bad. I'm not saying they're an all-star cast, but they are not just the least talented offense in the NFL, and they look terrible. They do not have an identity. The play calling is terrible, and I think the only reason the play calling changed at the start of the Giants game was because Jerry and Stephen Jones forced his hand, and then he did it a little bit, and then they went back to their same shit, and that's when they didn't score against the Giants. And now against the Seahawks, it was just, let's line up. Let's get in a formation. At one point, the game looked like a fucking formation Army ran against Oklahoma. And Dak Prescott is never going to succeed in that system. Dak Prescott, to me, should be a very good system quarterback. But when your system is that what Troy Aikman ran in the fucking 80s and 90s or whatever it was, then it's never going to work. It's never, ever, ever going to work.
Yeah, Jake, I think you speak for all Cowboys fans when you talk about the coaching. And here's one of the biggest plays that is not talked about the coaching staff. And it's not a play call. It's not a scheme. It's not a strategy. It's nothing to do with that, but it is one of the most important attributes as a coach. When Randy fucking Gregory, who has been suspended for 2 goddamn seasons and has played a total of 6 fucking games for you, and he's got all this potential. Oh, he's got all the potential. I don't give a shit when you punch a fucking player and then you go to the sideline and your head coach is yelling at you and you walk right past him and don't even look at his direction. You don't even glance over at him. You just go over there and sit down. That is the most disrespectful player you can have on your team, and that is Coach Garrett's problem. He does not have any respect in that locker room. No one respects him. No one cares what he has to say. No one cares. None of the coaches have to care what he does or says. They're not held accountable to anything that they do. Any mistakes they make on the field, he just claps for him. He chews his gum and he claps for him. If there's anything that goes wrong outside of the field, oh, Jerry Jones is going to play rehab for me and I'm going to be on this team for 5 more years because he wants to be known as a good man. And at some point, I don't give a shit. I really just don't. I'm done with Randy Gregory. Don't care about his potential. Don't care that we drafted him in the 2nd round. I don't care that he's a great guy off the field when he's not smoking weed. I really don't care. When you make a stupid play like that, and no, it didn't cost us the game at that point in time, though, it was detrimental. At that point in time, it was. No, at the end of the day, it did not cost us the game. But it's plays like that that have me so worried about this coaching staff. It's not even the play calling. And yes, you're right on everything you said, Jake. It's awful. It's some of the worst play calling I've ever seen. But when you lose respect of a grown man who you should be mentoring, who you've given every opportunity for him to be on that team, and you've given him chance after chance after chance, and he just disrespects you and just walks off, that is a problem. That is something that cannot be fixed. A scheme, a game plan, that can be adjusted over a week. That can be fine. But the respect that you earn as a head coach cannot be regained after you've lost it. And Coach Garrett and Linehan don't have any of it.
Let me put it this way. This Cowboys team could have the same roster as the Rams, and they would be 1-2.
Yes.
I have no doubt.
I no doubt in my mind that if the Cowboys had, and every Cowboy fan, the annoying ones, the really annoying ones, if we had Romo and Des Bryant and Witten, what would our record be? Hell, we'd probably be 0-3. I mean, shit. I don't know what we'd be with those guys. I really don't think we'd be any better or worse off than what we are. Like you said, if we had the Rams roster, if we had Patrick Mahomes out there, we would be still throwing 2-yard checkouts to Cole Beasley on the sideline. We're finally actually going down the middle with him, but we're still not going to have any great plays down the field. We're not going to have any receivers. We're going to go on 3rd and 6, and we're going to run a 4 verts on a prevent defense and not have any options to go over the middle or sideline or any type of other route. We're just going to sit there and we're going to wait, and we're just going to waste perfectly good talent. I think, Jake, like you said earlier, our talent is there. It's nothing to do with the talent. I think our talent is good enough to be 2-1, possibly 3-0 at this point. And because the teams we've played, I don't think Carolina's a juggernaut. Yeah, they're a good team. They're a playoff team. They're good. They're probably going to make the playoffs this year, but they're not a juggernaut. They're not a Super Bowl contender. I don't have them in my NFC Championship game. I mean, I don't have Seattle making the playoffs. I have the Giants getting last place in the division. Why are we 1-2? Well, I mean, I just don't get it with the talent we have. Across the board. On Madden, they're rated at like an 88, 87 overall. Well, I mean, on Madden sees it. We have talent. I don't see why they can't go out there and just run a play that's a up-tempo, quick, non-thinking offense, and you just don't even have to make reads. You just boom, 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 boom.
Because
that's when
against the Giants to start,
and it succeeded.
Worked. And then the fact they went away from it just shows Pierre Linehan wants to run his system. And when you run this type of system, and I'm not trying to defend Dak and say, but because I'm saying his ceiling is not super high, or I don't think he's going to be an MVP quarterback, but he's not as bad as they make him look, is all I'm saying. And for all the fans to say it's all Dak's fault, they don't look at the actual game and watch it. I mean, Dak definitely messes up. To me, it's a perfect triangle as far as, it's the Phil Jackson, if you will, freaking offensive mistakes and miscues. Whenever, someone is open, the offensive line does bad. Whenever Dak has time, no one's open. And then when there's a guy open, sometimes Dak misses the throw. Sometimes he doesn't. He's made good throws in every game. But the problem is the other two things aren't happening consistently. And then, when you only have 2 or 3 chances in a game to make a big play, and maybe Dak misses one of them, it looks even worse for the quarterback. It's a shame because we still don't know for sure if Dak can be the franchise quarterback, but to me, we can't actually learn it until we see him in the correct system, and we can't see him in the correct system until we fire these idiots. And I find if we keep the defensive staff, because I love Chris Richard and Rod Marinelli. He's been very.
He's probably going to die on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very good for the Cowboys the entire time he's been there. I have a great amount of respect for Rod Marinelli. But as far as this, it's just Scott Linehan and Jason Garrett. I don't give a damn about the coordinators on the offensive side or anything.
I don't like the offensive line coach. The point you made earlier is huge, and no one talks about it.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Him, because I think that people don't realize what a big change that makes when someone comes in and changes your technique, and then all of a sudden you're seeing Tyron Smith struggle on the field. You're seeing Zach Martin struggle on the field. To me, that's a reflection on him because I haven't seen that in prior years with a different, offensive line coach in there. And so to me, I mean, Scott Linehan, I would rather, if I had to choose one guy to fire, it'd be Scott Linehan because they will never, even if they somehow made the playoffs this year or had a good year, it doesn't matter. They wouldn't be able to compete for the Super Bowl because they can't do it with this system. It's impossible. They will never, ever, ever win a Super Bowl because guess what? This system was used to dominate an era of football that didn't have a salary cap. So you could run this system and just have a better team than the other team because you were paying them more money because there was no salary cap. In the salary cap era, coaching and schemes have become more and more important, and the Cowboys are absolutely getting dominated on that end of the field every single week. And we've seen it for, 8 years now with Jason Garrett, and it's been the same shit. Same with Scott Linehan. They need to go. We need we need a young, fresh coach who knows how to run an offense. I wish we could have got a guy like Matt Nagy.
Chris Richard. He's already on our coaching staff,
well,
Jake.
He better hire an offense. He's not an offensive guy. I mean,
that's okay.
We better get the right offensive guy in because I don't care if you hire Chris Richard as your head coach. If you have a shitty offensive coordinator, this team is still going to have the same problems.
You know what? This team is boring as hell. I was watching Good Morning Football this morning, and they said that regardless if you've hated the Cowboys or you love the Cowboys, everybody watches the Cowboys. This year, the last couple years, no one really cares that much because you know what you're going to get. Really boring football. At least with Romo, you'd have a fourth quarter comeback and an interception to lose the game or a touchdown to win the game. You'd have exciting plays. You'd have fun players to watch. You'd have a Dez Bryant. You'd have a Marion Barber. You'd have a Witten. You'd have a DeMarcus Ware.
One more.
We don't have fun football. We watch boring football every week, and it turns to losses. So people who hate us, they can't even watch the game because they don't want to even enjoy watching us lose because it's so boring to watch. They'd rather watch something else.
And one point, because I think a lot of people's counter argument would be, well, the offense was really good, when Tony Romo was running the helm, and you still have the same coaches. Well, Romo called the plays essentially, and it's come out more and more in the last couple of years that Romo was really calling, especially his last few years where they were the best they were ever during the Romo era. He was essentially calling every single play. Whether it be him checking out of the play or just flat out calling it on the run. So Scott Linehan wasn't even really controlling the offense at that point. Romo was essentially the offensive coordinator too. So for people who are going to argue that point, we're seeing Scott Linehan's true system these last couple years. And the only reason it worked Dak's rookie year was because they were just flat out better than the other team.
Yeah, and Jake, so I can't say much more. The running game was good. We had, we had 8 yards per carry with Zeke, and we lose the game.
Zeke cost them that game just as much as anyone else with the fumble.
He did.
And then he lost them 2 touchdowns essentially.
No, he
essentially
dropped that
first down.
Yeah, no, there was a third down play where he dropped. That was it was just an out route. He had nobody around him. He had beat the linebacker, dropped the pass. Pass was perfect in his hands, dropped it. Had another play up the sideline, stepped out of bounds before he caught it, an illegal touching penalty. Had a 30-yard play, the longest play of the game for the Cowboys, fumbled it. And those 3 plays in scoring position really, to me, changed the entire game. And that touchdown that was taken away from Zeke, well, not taken away. It was never supposed to be a touchdown. It was illegal touching. It was the right call to make. That definitely, I think that was the biggest play for both teams in that game against Seattle. It was the biggest play that hurt the Cowboys, and it was the biggest play that helped the Seahawks.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
All right, well, Jake, that's going to do it for our Cowboys rant. It wasn't much of a session or anything. I don't even want to talk about the conference or the division and how well they did. Every team, Giants, Redskins, and Eagles, all won. So that definitely didn't help the Cowboys whatsoever. So let's change the subject completely away from football, and we're going to go about 2 minutes on talking basketball. We're going to leave it on a high note for you guys. The biggest... like the most painful laugh you could ever hear from Kawhi Leonard. I don't know if any of you have heard it. I'm sure if you don't live under a rock, you've heard it. You have to by now.
Yourself, and what would you like people to know about you?
I'm a fun guy. Obviously, I love the game of basketball. I mean, it's just more questions you have to ask me in order for me to tell you about myself. I just can't give you a whole spiel. I don't even know where you're sitting at.
Even if you don't know sports, it's one of the biggest memes in the world right now. And if I'm Kawhi Leonard and you already have a shitty personality, I'm never laughing ever again. I'm literally never laughing ever again after that. I mean, if you think he is stone-faced now, wait till after this. He's never going to put an expression on his face again.
Sorry, I'm making a fucking snake noise because screw Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, whatever, dude. Get over it. But,
I'm a Spurs fan, by the way, so I have a strong hatred for him now.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, and if you have to start off your sentence, if you have to start off with, yeah, I'm a fun guy, you just have to be around me for a while.
No. He said, I'm a fun guy. You just have to ask me the right questions to figure that out.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, robot is not computing your question.
Does not compute the question. Please ask in a different way so I could answer in a way that I can respond correctly. Dude, it was bad. It was bad. So basketball season's officially started. It's back. You got Kawhi Leonard laughing, and that is going to be the first and biggest storyline of the NBA season. And if that is a sign of things to come in the NBA, with the Lakers being the shit show they're going to be, it is going to be a fun year.
Yep, and actually, no, it's not going to be a fun year because guess what? Golden State Warriors are going to be the NBA final champs. So
wait, hold on. Let's wait. So we're going to mark this date. It is November 26, 2018, and we're going to actually record now. This is just free. This is on the top of my noggin. We're going to go right now, Jake, and we are going to record it right now, and we're not going to record for the NBA Finals, and we're going to play this segment on September 26th for the NBA Finals. Are you ready?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the Golden State Warriors have done it. They have won another championship. And oh my gosh, Jake, who's the MVP?
Oh, it's Kevin Durant.
No way, I would have never guessed that. Incredible, what an upset over the Boston Celtics.
What an incredible league the NBA is. Unpredictable, and what a great year it was. They truly don't need to fix the luxury tax because this finals was a great 5-game series.
I can't believe Boogie Cousins went out there and played as well as he did for the Warriors. He was really the missing piece that really connected the glue together for the Golden State Warriors, who have been struggling ever since his arrival, and I cannot believe that Boogie Cousins was the missing piece all along to this Warriors team. I'm surprised he didn't win MVP. But again, it is Kevin Durant.
Who would have guessed they would have lost a grand total of 17 games this year, especially that one really tough 2-game losing streak in week 3 of the NBA. What a crazy comeback from that terrible week.
Yeah, they had such a bad week in week 3 that they actually fired their assistant coach, and the Los Angeles Lakers has actually hired him, and then the Lakers missed the playoffs. Unbelievable! And can you believe it? The Warriors beat their own record of losing 1 game in the playoffs to going undefeated in the playoffs. They swept everybody.
And that was Talking Basketball.
That is Talking Basketball, and that will be aired in July, late July, early June, I guess. That will be aired.
Whenever it is. I won't be watching the NBA playoffs again this year, so
Yeah,
I'll be watching the NHL again. So
yeah, so that was Talking Basketball. Well, that's going to do it for our show, everybody. Thanks for listening again. Hit subscribe. Listen to us on YouTube. Go to the first couple episodes on SoundCloud, and we'll be back next week. Thanks again, and good night.